guys, the championship in 2008, winning championships himself. And as Wick said, I think we're just honored with his integrity, his approach to the game, his respect for the game, his respect for fans and players. We're really going to miss it. But the great news is we have continuity with Brad, who's been side by side for these last 8 years. And so it's a bittersweet day, but great day for Danny. I think we should really appreciate everything that he's done for the city of Boston, for basketball, and all of us personally here. It's been just a joy to work with him.
Next will be Danny Ainge.
Well, this is a bittersweet day. We start back 18 and a half years ago when Wick and Steve first approached me to come to Boston. And I was in a pretty good place. I was playing golf a lot, working TV one day a week.
You still do.
Not enough. One thing that they won me over on was the quality of people that I believed that I was going to work for. Wick had a son that was blind, and he moved his entire family back to Boston and made all sorts of sacrifices. And I really felt a genuine person that was trying to make, not just win a championship and bring Banner 17 on, but also try to make it a better place. And I had served with Steve on a couple of boards of different charities, so I knew his philanthropic history and his willingness to serve. And one thing that I'm really proud of is just, boy, they have lived up to everything I thought that they would do in the community of Boston, but and then some, especially over this last year and all the social injustice, and they're putting their money where their mouth is and making Boston a much better place to live. And I'm as proud as that as being part of their organization and them as anything. The basketball is fun. I love basketball. It's been part of my whole life. And been in professional sports for 44 straight years. And I've had a lot of ups and downs and fun and sad losses. And, today is not a great day. I wish we would have, finished the year on a much better note. But I feel like there's so much hope in the Celtics going forward. And I'm excited for Brad. I think that Brad, he was born for this. Indiana kid, basketball junkie, smart, lives the game, has many resources, and has a great staff. With Mike and Austin and Dave and Remy and Jake and Allison, and just a great staff already in place. And that with Brad's leadership and his organization and his work ethic and intelligence, I think it's going to be this is a great day for the Celtics. And I think this is actually even a big step forward. And I'm looking forward to see what, and I'll be hovering from a distance probably, but sitting with Pags or Wick, yelling at the refs for years to come. But
we'll have an honorary seat for you at the games too. So,
but this is a good day for me and for my family, my children. I've talked with them through all of this process, and we're excited for the opportunities that I have to spend more time with them and not be as stressed, and get out and play golf a little bit more.
Finally, Celtics president of basketball operations, Brad Stevens.
Well, first of all, obviously it's an honor to be trusted with this responsibility by Wick, by Pags, and then to get a chance to learn from and work alongside Danny all of this time. One of my big fears in coming here was the day that Danny decided he would step away, because when you're in coaching and you ride the waves of each win, each loss, each bad practice drill, each thing that doesn't go your way or does go your way, it's so important to be surrounded by people that, have a great understanding of the challenges, that truly love the joys that come with it, but also find great joy in overcoming the toughest of days. And Danny has provided that support as my boss, of constant empowerment for the last 8 years. And today, I'm not the story, and so I'll let this be what it should be, and that is a great celebration for me of a person who I've learned a lot from, and who I've really enjoyed working for. And I know that if any of our assistants were sitting here, if anybody on Danny's staff, if anybody around the Celtics were sitting here, they would all say the same thing. I appreciate the super kind words from Wick Pags and Danny. I understand and am looking forward to this new great challenge and responsibility. And, we're driven to compete for championships. And as Danny said, like yesterday, was a hard day. This morning is a hard day. And I know that there's a lot of work ahead.
Look, sorry, connection issue. Looks like I'm back now. So we'll open it up for questions and we'll go to John Corrales.
Thanks. Brad, you now move into this front office role after coaching these guys. They've all worked really hard for you. You've coached them through some of the worst of the NBA with the bubble and this turnaround and through personal tragedy. Are you prepared now to make the difficult decisions that impact these guys' futures as a member of the front office, as running the team?
I mean, I think one of the things that I've learned from just being around Danny is you have a job to do. You have a responsibility to do. That responsibility is to the Boston Celtics and our fans, and the pursuit of excellence and the pursuit of the opportunity to compete for championships. But you can also care about people, and you can also be there and do everything you can to help someone and care about them when they're here or no longer here. And I think that that's really important. You're right. We've been through a lot together. At the same time, I think I've got a good idea. One of the benefits of moving into this new role is I've got a good idea of what we do and don't do well, and what can accentuate some of our, best players. And so there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work ahead. I mean, obviously, there is a whole process that we'll go through in searching for a new coach. There's obviously roster decisions that must be made. And there's development within our own team and improvement within our own team that has to happen. That said, as Danny said, we are in a good place. We have a lot of really positive things, and it's our job to capitalize on that.
Gary Washburn.
Hey, Dan, it's just one for Danny. One, is this retirement health related? Two, are you actually retiring? Are you taking a break? Do you plan to work in an NBA front office sometime soon? And this year, did you think or know that, was there a point where you said, okay, Danny, like, this is it for me. This is my last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I had a heart attack 2 years ago, like I started thinking about what I was doing with my life and, what are the things that I want to accomplish. I think my life expectancy is maybe a little bit less than yours, Gary. Who knows? But I think that, what was the other part of the question? I don't know what my future holds. I don't have any plans right now. My goal is to get Brad up to speed on the draft. As like I said, our whole staff will be able to help in all that, and try to make this transition and put the Celtics in as good a place as we can be. And I'll think about the future somewhere in the future.
Mark Murphy.
Two questions, one for Danny, one for Brad. Danny, how much did just the rhythm of this season kind of wear down on you, and how much did that influence your choice?
Yeah, I don't think it did much. I've been through a lot of bad seasons before in my lifetime, but I think that, not so, we haven't had very many bad seasons, but seasons where we didn't play as well as we hoped. But I don't, this is not a this moment, this season decision. This is well thought out much before that. And I've always trusted my instincts, and my instincts have told me that this is the right time for me and my family and for the Boston Celtics. And, 18 years ago when I was hired by Stephen Wick, and I mean, it's rare in this business where there's so much public scrutiny of every decision you make, where you come in and you leave 18 years later and you're closer and better friends than when you came in, and you have great respect and a lifelong, that'll never end. And that's what I'm most proud of, is relationships. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter. Looking forward to the next chapter for the Celtics and for us.
Okay, and the other question is for Brad. You now get to pick your successor. What in your eyes would be the next coach in this team? What do they have to do? A lot of former players are now coming into the league as head coaches, for example.
Well, one of the things I've learned being in coaching against other great coaches, learning things from the people that you coach against, is there's a lot of different ways to coach, and there's a lot of different ways to be successful as a coach. Danny and I have talked many times about, we had done things over the last 7 or 8 years that Danny wouldn't necessarily have done, but when it is on one page and when it works out, it's the right thing for that group and that team. And so I'm looking forward to really diving into this process. I think that the good news about whoever we hire, they don't have to fill Doc Rivers' shoes like I did, and they don't have to fill Danny Ainge's shoes now like I do. So that's the good news is they just have to, figure out a way to, be better than the last guy.
Adam Himmelsbach.
And you mentioned this is something you've kind of thought out for a little while now. Could you give us a little sense of the timeline of when this started being something you started thinking about, and how this decision was made, whether this was entirely your decision or was it more from also discussions among Wick and Pags and things like that?
It was my decision. And like I said, it started when I had health issues 2 years ago in the playoffs. And I started thinking about them. You're surrounded by your 6 children in the hospital, and they're saying, hey, you need to quit doing this for work. It's causing you too much stress. And that's probably when it started, when I started thinking about it. And then these last 2 years have been tough, like, in the bubble and all the rules and scrutiny and protocols that we've had to go through, has not made it as much fun. The job, we haven't been able to get out and have scouts or draft workouts. So the job hasn't been as much fun, but I think that, I don't know if there was a moment in time, but like I said earlier, it was I trust my instincts. My instincts told me a couple months ago that it was time for me to move on. And that's what's best for us. That's what's best for the Celtics.
And for the record, Danny came and said, it's his time. It's completely his decision, with no support whatsoever from ownership in making that decision. None was none was offered. No support was offered except for wishing him the best once it became clear that was his decision. And now we've taken a step with Brad. It was in that order, and that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah, in fact, we asked him to think about it some more when he first came up with it, to make sure he thought it through. And then I just can't tell you how much we appreciate everything that he's done, and he'll leave his imprint on this organization for years to come.
Tim Bontemps.
Two questions. First for Brad. Obviously, Brad, you've been a coach for a very long time. How long have you been thinking about taking this job and moving into the front office? And why is this the right decision for you to make?
Well, like I said earlier today, Tim, today is not about me. The thought of going into this position, was never even a thought, because Danny was here and he was the best at it, and he's the best to work for. When he decided to move on and retire and go enjoy more time with his family, and we talked a little bit about it whenever that was. I don't remember the timeline, but it's been a while now.
6 years ago.
And it wasn't 6 years ago. It was within the last couple months. And then it just kind of moved down the road, and Wick and Pags, both talked to me a little bit about it. And then I talked to Wick for a while one day, and we decided that was what was best. And I told Wick at that moment, my number one thing is for the good of the Celtics. I love the Celtics. I want to do what's best for the Celtics. I really have enjoyed coaching. I loved coaching, and I've loved coaching the players both at Butler and here. But this is the new challenge, and this is what we need to do to hopefully be even better. And, again, I think a big part of that is hopefully I can use my experience as a coach to help not only find a coach, but be a good, supportive, empowering person like Danny has been to me of a coach.
I guess just to follow up really quick on that, Brad, why is it better for the Celtics for you to be the president of basketball operations as opposed to the head coach?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I'm passionate about this group of people. I'm passionate about the team that we have. I'm passionate about the people that work in our front office. I'm passionate about our coaching staff, and that's who I've spent all morning with. The people in our sports performance staff. I'm passionate about the whole thing. And I do think that I've got a good insight to our team as Danny now steps away. And so I feel like I've got a good idea about what we do well, what we don't do as well. And I also think, I've been doing this for 8 years. I've been in that locker room with some of those guys for a long time. And they're going to get to play for a great coach with, some similarities maybe, but also some great new fresh perspectives. And I think that that's a good thing. And so I'm looking forward to finding that person, because I do think people can be reinvigorated by that. And, I think that when I looked at the big picture and Wick and I really talked about it, it made sense. This is a great opportunity to give us a good spark when we're losing, one of the best at his job in the world. And that's something that, we all have to step up and meet the next challenge.
And Wick, sort of the same question for you. Obviously, you hired Brad to be your coach. He's had a successful run as a coach. Why is it better for you to move him into the front office as opposed to finding somebody to work with him in that job and have him stay on the sidelines?
Yeah, we've all here at this podium the other three of us have gotten to know Brad over these past 8 years and realized the depth of his basketball brilliance. I mean, he's just such an insightful person. It comes out in his coaching, but it just comes out in his analysis of the game day in and day out. He put rosters together, obviously, at Butler, which went nearly all the way. He was at the table here with Danny in the war room and in all of our roster decisions along the way for the 8 years. which has had a number of notable successes, never went all the way here, but had multiple conference finals and so on, multiple good teams, and drafting some young all-stars. And so Brad's fingerprints and DNA are on this team right now in terms of putting it together, helping Danny. Danny was running it. And so for me and for Steve and the rest of ownership, it was a thought really of saying, this is really a role that I think Brad's been preparing for his whole life in a way, as a player, as a coach, and now stepping in as Danny stepped from coach to front office, thinking that Brad can step from coach to front office. I asked Danny not long ago, what's your top criterion for a successful head of basketball? And he said, someone who can really relate well to the coach and understands the coaching demands. And that's what Brad has to a T. We also have a partnership here with Brad that we've built over these many years. And I feel very confident that he's going to fly high in this role and give it everything he's got. And that's what we're asking him to do.
I think the continuity and the excellence that, Brad brings to this job is going to be fantastic for us. And as Brad said, the key is having a president of basketball operations that can work with the players and coaches and ownership to really win a championship. And Brad is extremely well positioned to do that, and has been integrated from day one in the operation with Danny and understanding what we're trying to accomplish and how we're trying to accomplish it. So it's again, a bittersweet day. Danny is leaving, but we're lucky to have someone like Brad to step in and continue that legacy and that family going forward.
Chris Mannix.
Hey guys, question for Brad and a question for Wick. Brad, if this went a different direction and they hired a new basketball operations president, would you have been happy coaching this team, for the foreseeable future?
For sure. Yeah, no doubt. And again, it goes back to, I love basketball. I've loved my time as a coach, and I also, want what's best for the Celtics and want to do my part into ultimately helping us achieve what we want to achieve. I mean, that's the driver for me. This ownership group, Danny, have treated me unbelievably, and this organization means a lot to me and my family. And so, yes, whatever they would have asked me to do, certainly. And I would have done it, with great, with the same enthusiasm that I have. This now is a great new opportunity. I'm invigorated by it. I'm looking forward to it. Like I'm excited about it. I know there's a lot of work to do. And I will say, and I think it's really important to say, like Danny mentioned it earlier, we're set up not only from a player standpoint, but we've got great coaches that are in the building. But, Mike Zarin, Austin, and that whole entire group, like they are going to make this transition very easy because they are high level at what they do. They know the ins and outs of everything that needs to be known. And, I'm looking forward to working with them, leaning on their expertise as I transition, leaning on Danny's expertise as he transitions, and going from there.
And just Wick, to ask you, you obviously have a lot of confidence in Brad for this job, but when Danny comes to you and tells you he's going to walk away, is any thought given to kind of a national search and to branch out and look at a deeper level across the league?
Well, what we knew, what I really felt, and what we decided was we'd wait till the end of the season to do anything if we went that route. And then talking to Brad one day and said, I wonder if you want to, let's run a search together for president. I said, and you might want to throw your name in. And from my standpoint, that's when it started. I think Brad and Danny actually had started tossing it around years ago casually, but they never filled me in. And it is that was just, it's always probably been a possibility. But so the idea of Brad taking over it's a natural promotion from within somebody we've worked with for 8 years. And so one person's leaving and we have one job opening, and it's a very important job opening of head coach of the Boston Celtics. It's following, Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Tommy Heinsohn, Brad Stevens, Doc Rivers. It's following an illustrious group, and we're getting started today on that search.
Jared Weiss.
Question for Brad first. There was a period of time recently in the league when teams were having coaches also fill that same GM position or director position. Was that something that you considered, or something you weren't interested in, considering just how taxing that whole workload would be? And then also just for Wick and Pags, was that something you considered?
I think it's too much. And I think that, like I said earlier, all of my intentions, energy, and focus needs to be on doing this job well, and then hiring a great coach and trusting that they will do their job well. And I think that everybody will benefit from that approach. And to me, that would have been a lot to be able to do both of those things. I know some people have done it and some people have done it really well. But that would have been a great challenge.
I told him yesterday he better find a good coach or he will be doing them both.
At the Celtics, those are two separate jobs.
Yeah, and then when we purchased the Celtics in 2003, we studied this, and at that time there wasn't even as much statistics as there are now, and we tripled the size of the basketball operation, the front office, and so it's a gigantic job. Doing the two jobs, I can't imagine being able to do those two jobs in today's world, with managing the stat people, managing the health, managing all the things that you have to manage. I think it's 200-hour week, type jobs, and that's how these guys have worked at it, and that's why we've been so successful. And it's also fantastic to have someone who's coached, because they understand how hard the coaching job is. It's an extremely hard job to get out there for those 82 games plus the playoffs and all the ups and downs of that. So definitely two jobs in my mind.
Time for a few more questions. We'll go to Brian Robb.
Hey, just two questions for Brad here. First, you've spoken highly again about the other members of the Celtics front office here. During this transition, do you